Hi, I'm Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Steven Jondrew, and we're from Better Podcasting, a proud member of the GonnaGeek network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of the individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3,
2,
1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're witty.
He loves him some Katy Perry because she kissed a girl and she liked it.
They're crazy.
I like Nickelback personally, but, I'm the fuddy-duddy who likes episode 1.
And sometimes I leave you wondering, what the f***?
I'm pretty sure that here we were starting the hashtag movement, Bring Back Slave Feral.
GonnaGeek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 196 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Steven Jondrew, and with me, of course, is the wonderful Chris Farrell.
I am Tobor.
We also have, of course, Stargate Pioneer.
Hey guys, what's up? It's a great week. Looking forward to a great show here. And Steven, I want the tag starring Stargate Pioneer before you actually announce me. Because you announced me last. I'm the key guest. I'm the key guy. Without the show, without me, the show is nothing.
Well, is it starring or featuring?
I like featuring. I like the way you think, Chris Farrell.
I personally think that the show is starring Stargate Pioneer featuring Chris Farrell with guest. That's what I think.
I think we can take it, Chris. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Well, I just think, like, if we're going to be completely honest about the whole thing, I'm really just a hindrance to the show, and I don't do anything good ever.
Certainly no production value from you.
No, I definitely wouldn't be working on the fly remotely to fix the solo shot. No, definitely not. Definitely not.
That would never happen.
Oh, we are here with another edition of the GonnaGeek.com show. And if you are checking us out for the first time, I am actually on the road. This is crazy. This is only the second time we've done it in this sort of manner. So when everything breaks, I just want to say it's Stargate Pioneer's fault.
It is because, Steven, I'm very jealous of the fact that you have tremendous hotel Wi-Fi, because every hotel I go to, I can barely get audio out, and you are managing getting audio and video and doing this whole production. You are the king of the hotel Wi-Fi, sir, and I salute you.
Well, I just got to say, it's the second time we've done it, and I feel so comfortable that I'm even sitting here enjoying my Canadian Timmy Hose. That's what it is. I'm just Canadian it up. I'm just so relaxed.
You realize I have an American Timmy Hortons 2 miles down the road.
I do realize that. But yeah, we're here today with another GonnaGeek.com show. And before we get into the topics, we do want to just take a moment here to talk about, unfortunately, a bit of sad news. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. And it's the unfortunate loss of Adam West. That's right. He was the 60s Batman. The Batman that had the dancing and the bat shark repellent. That Batman. He did die this past weekend, and he really embraced Batman after that role. He voiced himself on many different shows. He just really owned it. Apparently was just a super kind guy at conventions. So it's sad that we did lose him. And I believe he was 88, if I read that correctly. Is that right, Chris?
That's correct. 88, passed away after a brief bout with leukemia, if I remember reading that correctly. But Adam West, he kind of lived the role. I mean, and what is it he referred to himself as? He called himself almost the Bright Knight, I think is what it was. You have Batman, the Dark Knight, and all these different variants. And his was a lighter Batman, which some people may mock and make fun of, but it was a fun Batman. It was a different flavor of things. And Adam West enjoyed his role, and he enjoyed interacting with the fans by all reports. I mean, it was just recently even he stopped doing the convention circuit. I think the last time he was up in Pittsburgh for Steel City Con. He was here with Burt Ward, and they both said, hey, this is our final stop here. We're going to start wrapping up some of these convention appearances. So it's going to be a bummer to see him go. He's always been gracious to the fans, and that's been one of the coolest things. And if you'd forgotten too, he's also was in Family Guy as Mayor Adam West, the mayor of Quahog. And Seth MacFarlane had a pretty nice, heartfelt tribute that he put out there to Adam West as well.
I gotta say, like, I obviously was born after the 60s and quite a bit after the 60s, but I watched those reruns as a kid, and to me, he was Batman. Like, he always was Batman. All these other people who have played Batman afterwards were not Batman. He was Batman just because that show was such a part of my childhood. I watched all those episodes over and over. You know, I would just get up and I would record myself walking along a hotel, you know, the side of the hotel, and flip the video. It was the where it was at. He was Batman to me.
I remember watching it in reruns about the time that I was watching the original Star Trek, you know, maybe for the first time. And it was, I didn't take hold to it as well as I did the sci-fi, but it was still good. And I remember, unfortunately, Adam West will be a Batman for me. And by the way, I have a friend in town that actually has a 66 Batmobile, and he's making an 89 Batmobile right now too. And he has been affected by this quite a bit, but I was more the sci-fi guy. I'm glad to see him. Michael Keaton will be my Batman, but Adam West, I do appreciate everything he did. I did recently see him, and I can't remember if it was this year or last year, on Big Bang Theory. It was great that Big Bang had him on the set as Adam West, not as Batman. And it was pretty cool that we were able to see him. That was the last time I saw Adam West in any sort of production or live or anything. And it was good to see him. So thank you very much for Big Bang Theory for making that happen.
I remember I once knew of a guy in the neighborhood who was also named Adam West when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I don't know. He was just, again, an icon to me, even a child of the 80s. So
I think one of my favorite stories I saw, an Adam West story someone told, is they're at a convention and the kid, his name was Adam. He goes, oh, my name's Adam too. And Adam West looks up at him and goes, funny, I didn't see you at the Adam meeting. I mean, it's just simple little quips like that. You're just like, okay, this guy knew how to connect to fans and make it fun for them. And that's something to be missed.
Yeah, that's sorry. That's a heck of a story. I heard so many good stories, and it's sad to lose the guy. And you know, the thing that hits me with people like Adam West dying, Leonard Nimoy, is just like all of these iconic people out of 60s, 70s television shows. We're really have to realize that we are at the end of their lives. So it's sad. It's huge part of my childhood that just seems to be fading away.
And you have to realize how young these people actually were when the productions were occurring in the 60s and 70s. I mean, they were young. They were in their 20s and maybe early 30s to get where they are today. Unfortunately, we've lost some people along the way. You mentioned Leonard Nimoy. We've lost several of the Trek cast. I know we've lost several people. I mean, we're just at an age where we're losing more and more of these actors who have been known to us because we grew up in a TV generation. And there are more and more people that are sad to see go. I know pretty soon here in the United States, I can't speak for the Canadian government, but I know here in the United States, Jimmy Carter and President Bush Sr., they're both at the age where we'll probably be losing them pretty soon. And it's just sad to see people of that generation go. But in the meantime, enjoy them while you got them. Like Stan Lee, for instance, he is wrapping up his convention tour and he is pretty old. So if you have a chance to go see people like Stan Lee or like William Shatner, I would go see them because you might not get another chance.
No. Well, we just wanted to mention that on here, and we'll go and we'll continue on with the crazy GonnaGeek.com show hijinks, but we had to serve Adam West and talk about him because, again, I think he is an icon to many people who love Batman. So, Adam, rest in peace. All right. So this week on the GonnaGeek.com show, we are going to talk about news. But before we get there, I just have to mention my disappointment, my extreme disappointment last week in Stargate Pioneer. Of all the people I am disappointed in, it's Stargate Pioneer. I gave you a week to find the breadcrumbs. I left you a breadcrumb, and I left many listeners, and I'm so sad I didn't get a response. So I'm just going to go ahead and recap in a short few-minute clip a certain segment we did last week on the GonnaGeek.com show, episode 195, and we'll reconvene in a moment. She joined a sitcom with Ted Danson in a role where, oddly enough, later she was let go and replaced by Nancy Travis. What was the name of this series?
Chris,
what is the name of it?
it was Becker.
Wow! Question number 2. This Marvel comic book character has been affiliated with the Avengers, Secret Defenders, and has even been Captain America. Other aliases include John F. Walker and Jack Daniels.
Chris,
All right, Chris, what's your answer?
U.S. agent.
Oh my, wow! All right, so question number 3. This iconic sci-fi character was almost originally played by a monkey wearing a mask while holding a cane.
Beep.
All right, Beep, what do you got, SB?
Yoda.
All right, so question number 4. This company began in 1994 and is now a name easily recognized across the world, including in your house.
Amazon.
That was the gimme. So name this general who was a feared Jedi hunter whose body was
Boop.
a weapon.
Boop.
All right, Boop.
Boop. General Grievous.
Oh,
Yep.
got you on the board. Good job, Nate. Next one that we've got here. There's an iconic story about a Star Trek original series cast member named Nichelle Nichols who resigned after season 1. She reconsidered this after someone very important convinced her otherwise.
Beep.
Chris just barely beat you, SP. Chris.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Sorry, say that again.
Martin Luther King Jr.
There you go. Yeah, all right. So next one that we've got here, not to be confused with a character of similar name. What other name does Shazam go by?
Beep.
All right, Beep. What do you got?
Captain Marvel?
Oh, yeah. Wow. That was this version of Mac OS replaced El Capitan. It is not Yosemite. Unfortunately, it is indeed Sierra.
Oh,
Sierra.
It's close.
You're always close to that answer, but that's going to go ahead and wrap up Geek Wars. That's okay. So for you folks who did not follow along there, to recap the answer, the first, I'll just read out the answers. It was Becker, U.S. agent, Yoda, Amazon, General Grievous, Martin Luther King Jr., Captain Marvel, and Sierra, which when you put it all together, I'm trying really hard here to get SP his GMC Sierra sponsorship because what does it spell?
Buy a GMC Sierra.
You've been trying so hard and you've been failing week after week. I had to try for you. I had to try.
That must be in the form of a question, SP. The correct answer is what is by a GMC Sierra?
The correct answer is beep. What is by a GMC Sierra? You got to do the beep first, apparently.
So I put that Easter egg in there because I was forming stuff together, and then I came across the Sierra question because I wanted to do that, and then I was like, oh, Oh, I know what I can do. And I had most of the letters already. I just had to cut a couple of questions. So I was doing that. The one that I was struggling with was the U. So special shout out to Steve Boyd, because I texted him like 20 minutes before the show last week. And I was like, Steve, I need a comic answer that starts with U. And he gave me U.S. agent. So thank you, Steve Boyd, the guy that does all our voice work.
Thank you, Steve.
So
That was amazing, Steven. Way to put that together.
I thought for sure somebody would have clued in, but again, I'm trying hard here. I'm trying to get you that sponsorship, so maybe, just maybe, it'll work.
Looking forward to getting that phone call from Detroit or whatever suburb that GMC is located in now.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move into our news. Here we go. Okay, it is news time, and Chris has a heck of a lot of news. He just decided that he was going to hog the entire segment, right?
Yeah, just like I hogged and took over the GonnaGeek Twitter account last night. So if you're a follower of the GonnaGeek Twitter account, you probably saw about 5 p.m. Eastern time I took over and started talking about Microsoft's E3 event that was going on, because I fully admit I was geeking out. I was a little excited because they are finally going to unveil their official name for the Xbox Scorpio. They're going to unveil a price and get into some of the games that would be coming. So guys, let's do a rundown. I broke this into 2 pieces. First, we'll talk about the new console. Then we'll talk about some of the games they had there. So the Xbox Scorpio's official name, Xbox One X. You might be asking, why did they do that? Well, look at it on paper. Xbox One X. I enunciated that like that on purpose. It spells out Xbox. They probably thought they were very witty when they did it. Personally, I would have stuck with the Scorpio name. It was far cooler.
No, actually, it spells XOX. So it's all about the hugs and the kisses. That's all that it's about.
Hugs and kisses from Microsoft when you buy their new console when it drops on November 7th.
And when you buy it, your wife will be mad at you, so you'll need hugs and kisses from somebody else.
Boom! There's your marketing strategy right there.
So Xbox One X was revealed on the center stage at E3. Microsoft made a big point of saying it is their smallest Xbox system yet. In fact, smaller than the current Xbox One S that is out there. Microsoft made a big point of pointing that out because they've packed a ton of hardware in there, but they've made the Xbox small in comparison. So it'll take less room in your entertainment center. So here's the question, guys. Lots of theories were going around. A lot of people were saying, oh, Scorpio, when it was first announced, based off that hardware, it's going to have to be something like $600 to $800 in there because they're packing this with a bunch of stuff. What did you guys think it was going to come out being? I know what the Canadian price is too, Steven, so please feel free to theorize what you thought it was going to be.
I would have guessed it would be about $100 more than what it usually goes for. That was where I thought it would be before I saw the amount of specs, and I understand that it's like, I think Canadian $600. I think that's what it is.
Usually my price point for these gaming consoles is about $299, $250, $299, somewhere around there. So $250, $300. But when new consoles come out, they're like $500, $600 at least. And I don't know, this is a short time span. Like you had the Xbox 360 for what, 10 years until you got the Xbox One. So there was a long time for new components to come out that were a little bit cheaper to throw in the Xbox. I figured it was going to be at least 600, if not 800.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I think that ultimately, though, the higher price point, and I know you're going to say exactly how much it is, but I know the higher price point here, I think it indicates that they're ready to evolve the console gaming market. They're not just looking for the people who are on a bit of a budget to get into gaming. I think they're looking to really push the boundaries.
Yeah, so Microsoft's playing an interesting game here. The price for it is $499 US, $599 Canadian. Now, one thing to keep in mind, they're still going to continue to sell the Xbox One S and the original launch day Xbox One. All of the games that were announced at E3 play on all 3 systems. You just get additional graphical perks when you play on the Xbox One X. In fact, they talked later, and I'll touch on some of the patches that are coming out to upgrade them to 4K. So Microsoft has basically said, hey, if you just want to play games, you don't need the most powerful workhorse out there, you're fine with just 1080p graphics and things like that, pick up the Xbox One S. We just dropped the price on it. But if you want the cutting edge, you want 4K graphics, you want to have the bleeding edge, the most powerful console that's ever been made, go pick up the Xbox One X. And that kind of backfired for me because once I watched the E3 event, I was kind of like, as much as I might want an Xbox One X, I don't really need to have it because everything I want to play, I'll still be able to play. It just won't look quite as pretty. And especially if you don't have a 4K TV.
See, the naming thing to me is something that I got to mention here because it just to me came up as you were talking about the S versus X. I feel so bad for kids this Christmas. Hey, mommy, I want an Xbox One X. And then they go to the store. Oh, you want an Xbox One S? Yeah, I think that's what he said. I couldn't really tell. So it's so stupid how similar they've made the names.
Well, from when I was a kid anyway, I didn't have much. Atari 2600 came along in my teen years, so I didn't have much. Now, take a look at all the electronics that we have to buy for living in a geek culture, right? So you got your mobile phone, which if you go with an iPhone, it's going to be about $1,000 to get the one that I want with all the memory and stuff like that. So there's that. If you want a tablet, there's that. I just picked up a new iPad Mini 4 on sale for $300, but they go, Chris, your iPad Pro is what, $1,000 or something like that? It's in that range, right?
The 128 gig one that I got I paid $540 for it because they just marked down the 9.7 inch ones because they discontinued them.
Okay, so there's that, and then a laptop, whether you get a Mac Pro or you get a Windows-based one, it's probably a decent one is going to run you $500 to $1,000, maybe more than that. And then to do what we do or to game, you need a big computer as well. So it's thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and then you add on the gaming equipment, the gaming console on top of that. If you want one, I'm seriously wondering if they're a little bit too early with this because people are still liking to game on a desktop gaming system or a laptop versus a console. So I don't know.
What they basically did here with the new Xbox is if you go and look at the parts list, if you want to build, one of the big things with Xbox One S is gaming at 4K at 60 frames per second, solid on everything. If you want to build a PC to do that, it's tough to build that same PC for $500. I bet the graphics card alone that you'd want to get to do that ranges from about $300 to $400 when you start pricing things out. So what Microsoft has done is pretty much build an entry level 4K gaming box that's going to play Microsoft games. And when you get into the game listing, they make a big point of saying these are Microsoft exclusives, some of them, meaning they're both Windows 10 and Xbox because they're allowing you to buy them from that marketplace too. So that's kind of where Microsoft is gearing towards now, is saying, hey, these games we've got, if you don't want to build a PC to do it, buy an Xbox One X, and you've got the cutting edge thing when it comes to the console side of the market. I think that's their play.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to earlier when I said that it really has evolved, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. In the chat, Albert Sims brings up a good point that it is a lot of money when you compare it to a computer and whatnot, but you also bring up a good point as well that they are very high specs. And I actually really like this two-tier idea. I like this idea because there are people who just want to go and they don't want the latest and the greatest and all of the high def stuff. They don't need that. They just want to play some of the more simple stuff. And I like it. I think this is a really good idea. I would actually like to see it evolve a little bit further where the lower tier actually is even more affordable. I would like to see there be a bit of reduction in that area.
It just dropped to $200. If I recall, that's less than half the price of the top.
I didn't realize that. I'm sorry if I missed that. I didn't realize that it dropped down.
200 might be enough for me to pop for a couple of my kids that are still streaming cable shows or whatever, Vudu, from their Xbox 360s. I mean, that's at the point where it becomes a viable streaming option. I don't have any 4K TVs in my house yet, by the way, either. So I'm not clamoring to get the 4K graphics out of the Xbox yet. Eventually I will be, but right now,
right. So Microsoft had some spin on it for folks that didn't have 4K TVs. They pretty much tried to say, yeah, this will do 1080p at a high frame rate as well. Because one of the things the Xbox One's been dinged on is their cutting edge games. They're not necessarily 1080p. You're getting about 900p that might be at like 50 frames per second, stuff like that. So they're saying that even if you don't have a 4K screen, you'll see advances because there's a lot more graphical power and horsepower. So it'll be interesting. And they did also announce, here's some games you can try it with. They're doing free 4K upgrades to 5 Microsoft title games, which will allow you to play at 4K 60 frames per second. That includes Gears of War 4, which came out earlier this year, Forza Horizon 3, which has been out for a while, Killer Instinct, which I think was a launch game, Halo Wars 2, and Minecraft are getting free upgrades. There will be a patch you can download. When you download that patch, it'll play at 4K on the Xbox One X. They have also announced third-party support. I didn't get all of the games that are coming for that. There was like 20, I think they said, that day one would be supported. But some of the big three, Final Fantasy 15 will be day one supporting 4K gaming on the Xbox, Resident Evil 7, and one of my favorite games, actually, Rocket League. Really fun game I play on the PC. It'll play in 4K on the Xbox One X.
That is okay. So, are we? I guess we are caring about 4K gaming. I guess that's where we're at, because that's my big question mark on this. Is because I am not one for 4K at the moment myself, but I like the concept. I'm just not needing it yet.
No, I get you. The only reason I have 4K in my house is because I have an addiction to slick deals, and I was kind of trying to get rid of one of the smaller screens in my house, and I picked up a 50-inch Vizio 4K screen about a year ago for $300 that was getting end of life at Walmart. So that's the only reason I have 4K in my house.
You know, I think when the 4K push is going to happen is in another 5 years or so, when all of a sudden we're really having those people realize the difference. And what I mean by that is, I remember I was really excited to get any HD stuff because it was like I grew up with standard def, and then HD was such a step above that it was like, wow, look at this difference. And because 4K is obviously a massive difference, but when I think back, I still go, HD still looks way better than SD. So I'm absolutely okay to just have regular HD. So I feel like there's got to be that extra bump where I'm just like, oh, wow, and feel the same way I did about HD.
So the thing with 4K is it's much harder to see the difference between 4K and 1080p, really. And you're only really going to see it with like HDR, or what they're calling the ultra high definition. That's where you really see a difference. If you just have a regular 4K screen, you've got to be like in the sweet viewing spot, basically, to see the difference between 4K and 1080p. And if you're using something like Netflix or something like that, it's not quite the same experience as taking like a 4K Blu-ray and playing that.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I know you have some more Microsoft information, and we'll get to that in our extra section. And
can I touch on one more thing on the Xbox
absolutely.
One? So they did announce this that came out of nowhere that I wanted to make sure we touched on. Backwards compatibility with the original Xbox console coming to all of the Xbox One family. Meaning, if you've got games like Crimson Skies or Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Republic Commando, things like that, they will be playable on the Xbox One. They said there'll be graphical enhancements. It'll be the same way your 360 games work. Pop the disc in the drive. It'll make sure you own a legit copy. It'll download it to your hard drive, and then you just play that way. So original Xbox games coming to Xbox One came out of nowhere. I saw that. I went, you've got to be kidding me.
That's a good idea.
Great. You know, I've got a PS2 that I would love to get rid of because it's got some games that my son still likes to play that aren't compatible with the PS4 that we have as well. So hearing this and being able now to transition away from my Xbox 360s, which might have some backwards capability of the Xbox One on some games right now, that would be fantastic. And that actually would get me more towards the lower end of the Xbox One original release versions than anything. That is amazing. Way to go, Microsoft.
Now,
that was the kicker there for me.
One thing to keep in mind, it doesn't mean that all Xbox One games will be backwards compatible. Much like with the Xbox 360, not all games are playable on the Xbox One, but the big games, I think they're going to try and get those there.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that when you've got technology on an Xbox that probably fits in the palm of your hand now, and they can't do that. Just bugs me. But now
it's just coding. Rambling. It's encoding. It's making sure that the games will run with the hardware.
No,
that's all it is.
The hardest thing is getting the rights to some of those games. Like, say I want to go back and play NCAA Football 2005. That's a third-party game. You have to re-secure those rights to distribute and make that playable on a current gen system. That's why some of those sports games and stuff you'll never see made backwards compatible.
All right. Well, take your logic and shove it up Microsoft. I'll leave that alone. But let's go ahead and move. I'm just joking. Let's go ahead and move on to the next news point, which SP is going to tell us all about how California has no power. What?
That's right. On August 21st, they might not have power. But before we do that, we're going to have to back up. We're talking about end of life for some Xbox consoles. Let's talk about end of life here on the planet, like life extinction events, right? So big thing, LE, extinction level events. So let's talk a little bit about a few of those possibilities. You know, we got the super volcano right here in the United States in Yellowstone Park. We got the Yellowstone super volcano. If that goes up, it could
in Jellystone Park. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's right. Jellystone Park. When it goes up, you can call it whatever you want. Yeah, you won't be able to call it much for long because the ash that it distributes over the entire world will block out the sun, and it will block out crops, and massive dead loss with sea life, and massive dead loss with animals, and crops won't be able to feed people, that sort of stuff. So extinction level event. And asteroids. You know, if we get hit with an asteroid, that could end us up as well. Guys, you know how much work is going in to predict massive solar flares and then shut down parts of the electrical grid so it doesn't overfry itself during a solar flare, so that we lose all of our electrical capability. There's a ton of work into that. There's earthquakes. There's just a ton of ways that the human race can get wiped out here on the planet. Let me tell you the biggest threat, where if we actually get hit with this, it's game over. There's no hiding from it anywhere. If we get hit from it, we're done. And that's a gamma ray burst. Now, there's been speculation that we have been hit with a gamma ray burst, not once, but a few times, which actually ended the dinosaurs and probably contributed to an extinction level event for them as well in one of their massive die-offs. So it's not for certain. We don't know exactly what happened, but the gamma ray burst has entered into that. Now, what is a gamma ray burst? It's just this highly energized, intense, isolated burst that's coming right at you. And it's from this star is pulsar that's spinning around so much that it actually bursts out energy in some discrete areas. So you're getting a heck of a lot of energy in a small cone. And even though it can travel hundreds and thousands of millions of light years, it's still going to be deadly by the time it gets to us. So understanding these gamma ray bursts is very important for us to see if we can actually survive it, or if there's any way we can hide from it or anything like that. So keep that in mind. California, though, is looking at a solar eclipse on August 21st. And on August 21st, there is going to be an eclipse. Now, when that eclipse happens, the level of energy, solar energy, that is going towards the Earth goes to like nothing. Now, this is August. It's in the height of the summer. You have a lot of air conditioning running. And California has, as Stephen pointed out, I believe last time, close to 40 million people, which is more than the entire country of Canada. So they get a lot of their power, at least 10%, if not more, from solar farms everywhere. And when this eclipse goes over, they're not going to get solar radiation. So they're going to have to figure out how to deal with power. So this is August 21st. We're planning for it now. Actually, we've been planning for a while. Now, this story comes from Laura Gagel, and she is a life science staff writer. And she basically said that during the 9% of electricity, solar electricity from California, that they are going to lose about 4.2 megawatts, or 4,200 megawatts, which is the equivalent of 4.2 million homes during this eclipse. But wait, guys, it gets worse. There's another 1,500 megawatts, which is going to not be there because people put solar panels on their roofs. So that's a lot of power. That's like 6 million homes, which is a big chunk of the state, which is 40 million people, right? So they have to make sure there's enough hydroelectric, make sure there's enough coal fire or whatever, nuclear power to fire that state up for the few hours during the eclipse. The eclipse is going to last for about 5 hours, from like 7 in the morning till about noon or so. So they have to figure that out, and they are figuring it out well in advance. We're talking about August 21st. This is June 12th as we record this, so it's several months away. Okay, guys, I got a question.
Right.
Why is this a big deal? I mean, like, we have storms that come over all the time and knock out solar power, right?
You know why it's a big deal? Because I believe you said that they need 1.21 gigawatts. And so obviously we need to time travel. That's what it is, right?
You know, if you can time travel with 6,000 megawatts.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. I read this article. I'm gonna say overblown. That's what I'm going with.
There's a little bit of that because it happens all the time. What happens if there's a forest fire somewhere and you get clouds overhead, it's going to knock out your ability to produce solar power as well. Solar power is a renewable source, but I tend to think in terms of wind power and hydroelectric power, which is more renewable, in my opinion, and more available 24 hours a day than anything else. So, okay. We have this solar power, we have these issues, and people think the sun is a lot of free energy, but the sun, it can backfire on you as well. So there you go.
I just thought of something. Here you go. Here's your multi-million-dollar idea, SB. You're into the wind energy. You're also a podcaster, meaning you are constantly giving out a lot of hot air. Thus, some form of device that sits in front of you, wind energy, boom, there you go. Podcaster meets wind energy.
You don't realize it right now, but I am actually sitting at a recumbent bicycle. So I'm generating enough electricity to power this entire podcast as we go along as well.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the same thing, but that's just because that's the only way that we get power in Canada.
You actually get power in Canada? I thought we provided it for you.
Oh, we could go there and we could quickly see how much power Canada produces versus the States and how sometimes it is bought from us. But anyways, so let me ask you this. If I'm a California resident, do I need to be worried?
Panic.
I would run for if I was a California resident, I'd be trying to get out of there for a lot of different reasons, but loss of power would not be one of them.
Okay, so let me ask, if I was a California resident, should I be more worried?
No, there's people that think of this stuff all the time, and power is transferred all over the place. It's good that they're thinking about this in advance, so they're not like day of thinking, oh, we got to switch switches and make sure we're getting power from other locations. So that's good. But this whole thing about making sure that backup generators are fueled up and everything for that 5 hours, really. Now, California did have a bunch of brownouts I want to say about 10 years ago, in which case there was just an excessive amount of power being used and not a ton of power available. They had all those rolling brownouts. So I guess it's important for the Californians to keep this in mind, but I would take that as a failure of the power companies not to be able to provide power enough about 10 years ago. So they have upped their game now, but there's still thought in the back. If I was a California resident, there's be still in a thought in the back of my mind of, oh crap, here we go again. I'm going to be without my air conditioning on a very hot October or August 21st, which by the way is a Monday. So if we were in California, there would be a possibility that we wouldn't be able to podcast.
Well, I guess we'll just have to make sure we break into that market so that we can capitalize on other people's unfortunate situations.
I like this plan.
That's the key to getting rich.
Okay, so moving on to the next news story here. We're going to talk a little bit about how Sony has a potty mouth. Naughty, naughty, naughty,
no.
Sony. Yes, Sony has actually announced that they are going to be making a bunch of clean versions of their movies. And first you think, okay, it's got to be some ones that are more family centric and ones that are probably going to be a little easier to control. Well, they announced a list. And then, by the way, what I mean about clean versions is, you remember how back in the day you would see all of these overdubbed movies with like the worst ever voiceovers, like didn't even sound like the person, and they would say things that make no sense, like yippee ki Mr. Falcon, when there was no Mr. Falcon in the movie. Yeah, here let me just list some of these. 50 First Dates. Okay. Sounds like maybe a little bit family. Battle of the Year, Big Daddy. Yeah, okay. Captain Phillips. That's not exactly a family-oriented movie. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Wait a minute. Captain Phillips is not a family-oriented. It's about pirates, right? It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, except for it's on the eastern coast of Africa.
Okay, well then I'll just continue here, because then we're going to look down the list a little bit further, and we're going to see that the movie Step Brothers is on this list. Yes, Step Brothers, the movie where literally there are multiple scenes of taking out a male's sack of berries and hitting them on drum pads. That is literally a scene within the movie, is one that they have chosen to make family friendly. What? This is a really ridiculous idea that they're doing this. I can't believe that they're actually going to go and make these clean versions of these films that are just centered around more either mature concepts or more immature concepts. It doesn't matter. And when I say mature, I mean Captain Phillips. Like that's a mature concept. When immature, obviously we're talking Will Ferrell here. I just can't believe this. This is ridiculous, and it's just such a money grab. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up seeing that what's that R-rated movie that had all those boobs in it? Oh wait, all of them. But yeah, maybe that'll come out.
Well, when you have to call in another studio to help rejuvenate your superhero series that you have, I mean, it's like you got to think of creative ways to make some cash in order to stay in business. And let's not forget the email hack that they had a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah,
I don't understand your consternation here, Stephen. They do this every day on basic cable.
My constipation, is that what you said?
Your consternation, I don't understand it. It's a good word. It's a power word. I got distracted. It says boobs in the chat room. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. You do see it, but this is actually like a Sony-driven thing, not a made-for-TV thing. That's the difference here. It's not like they're taking it meaning to put it on TV. They're just doing this as another version of release. It's ridiculous.
Time out. So Walmart's been doing this for years. They've been taking movies and they've been editing them and selling the DVDs or Blu-rays in their stores. Walmart has been doing this across the board.
Maybe American Walmarts.
America.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's to me it's because it's on a bigger scale, because it's actually Sony doing this. It's not
bigger scale. Walmart's pretty dang big, dude.
Yeah, but Sony is the one that is actually making the movies. So whatever. I'm gonna be frustrated about this. I'm going to see I'm not gonna even see. I'm not gonna see my edited version, because that drum scene is like the best scene of Step Brothers.
How did you feel about censored or explicit musical lyrics that were censored in the 90s and 2000s? And you still see CDs like that where mom and dad won't let me get the explicit version. I gotta get the edited version of the new Limp Bizkit, guys. I mean, this is not a new thing. It's how you sell to another segment that wouldn't normally buy your product. I mean, are they going to make tons of money off of it? No, but they're going to make some money off of people that wouldn't normally let their kids or wouldn't let themselves see something they deem to be obscene or lewd otherwise. I mean, there was a whole movie streaming service that people were using that I think eventually got ruled illegal, which was people took these movies that had some intense imagery or crudeness in it, and they made edited versions and made safe versions that you could stream online so that families could watch Step Brothers or whatnot without having to worry about harsh language or nudity and things like that. It's not a new thing. It's just, I don't get it, because it's changing the original artistic vision of a work. I'm not saying Step Brothers is a work of art, but you're changing the original vision by editing it out.
Yeah, well, we'll see how well this goes. Maybe it'll just fail. But I gotta say, before we go off of this news point to Chris's crazy other Microsoft news, one of the best censorship things that I ever saw was I came across, I believe it was Showgirls on TV, and they had put in these terrible, like, it was like the 90s, so it was terribly, like, almost drawn fake bras and panties all over all the nude women. It was the most hilarious thing that I have ever seen. So seek that out. I think it was Showgirls.
What's the point?
All right. So speaking of the point, what is Microsoft's point, Chris?
So Microsoft's gotten criticized in the past at their E3 events. Yes, we're going back there for just a couple minutes, guys. Because remember when the Xbox One came out, they spent a lot of time talking about it as a media streaming platform and things like that. They didn't talk about the games. So this year they decided to talk about the games. In their 90-minute presentation, they showed off 42 games on stage, 22 of which are exclusive to Xbox One, but a good many of them also coming to Windows 10. So they showed off a boatload of games. I had just a few I wanted to run through because there's some exciting ones there and there's some that had some hype behind them. So it's alphabetical order, no order of preference. But ironically, the first one up is the one I'm most excited for is Anthem. This is BioWare's new IP made by the Edmonton team, i.e. the core Mass Effect team, not the Montreal team that broke Mass Effect Andromeda. So guys, this is what Mass Effect died for. It was to create Anthem, which looks like a cross of Titanfall, Destiny, and Iron Man, basically. It looks like they're trying to cash in on the fact that Destiny is the go-to game in the console world for cooperative shooters and things like that. It looks pretty. The graphics look gorgeous, and it's got a BioWare story behind it. So I will probably be picking that one up at some point.
Are you really going to pick it up, or are you just saying that to make an exciting news point?
Steven, you might have to bleep me. I don't know if we're allowed to say this. I'm BioWare's bitch, Steven. I buy everything they put out.
I'll leave it in. Why not?
I mean, it's a fair statement. So they'll get a few more games, one more to run down. Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm not a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series, but they took a year off because they were doing Assassin's Creed games yearly and the franchise was suffering. It actually looks pretty cool. This Assassin's Creed game is set in ancient Egypt. I'm kind of intrigued, but I don't even like the Assassin's Creed games. And I went, okay, I might have to try this one out. A few more. Crackdown 3. Microsoft's been talking about it forever. It's the sequel to the Crackdown franchise. I think it's been 3 years they've been promising it coming. It is coming this year. Terry Crews is featuring as the main character or main mentor or something like that. But just over-the-top explosion, ridiculous violence, things like that. It could be interesting. If you're a racing fan, Forza Motorsport 7. It's going to be one of the first 4K ready games that comes out. It launches October 7th, but if you get it, you can always play it on Xbox One S when that drops a month later and play it in 4K then. Metro Exodus. This is another one that Microsoft led off with. It looks gorgeous. I've played the Metro games on my PC before. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic horror shooter, but the environment looked incredible. The trailer they showed, there was a lot of dramatic tension as things are coming out of the dark at you, attacking you. I kind of want to play it. That's one I'll probably also be picking up. 3 more for you guys. This is one that the kids love. Minecraft. Yes, it's been out for a while. Remember, Microsoft owns Minecraft. They announced you're getting crossplay with the Xbox, Nintendo Switch, mobile, and virtual reality. So if I build something on my Switch and put it on the servers, my buddy on his Xbox One can go visit my world I've created on there. The crossplay between mobile, Switch, Xbox, VR, potentially PC, that's huge. Now notice I did not say PlayStation. No clue what they're going to be doing on that front, but they have basically, they promoted the Nintendo Switch during this event. There was a Switch built out of blocks in Minecraft that they showed off being put into place when they were talking about crossplay. It was the first mention of the Switch and the first appearance of the Switch at this year's E3. It was kind of cool. 2 more I have left. Sea of Thieves. This is Rare's new exclusive title. It's kind of an MMO adventure game. You basically sail the 7 seas with your pals, raiding pirate ships and hunting treasure. It's kind of a cartoony look. I'm not 100% sure whether it's something I'm going to want to play, but it looked pretty, and I'll probably look at more trailers and more early reviews before I make a decision on it. And then finally, because It's not another E3 without getting your next zombie game. State of Decay 2, which is a zombie horror survival game, coming spring 2018 to Xbox One and Windows 10. While it's nothing new in the zombie genre, it looked like it could be a lot of fun. I thought it was Left 4 Dead 3 for a second there that they're bringing out, but it could be fun. So Microsoft had some cool games there. What's going to be really interesting is, as we record this, it's Monday, June 12th. E3 is tonight is Sony's night at E3. So I'm really curious what exclusives they're rolling out. And if they are seeing, oh, Scorpio came out, we're going to drop the price of the PS4 Pro just to kind of stick a thumb in their eye or not.
Could be. To me, there's a lot of titles in there that I think Sony won't be happy with, because they'll probably want to just go in and make them for a more family-friendly audience. You know, for example, Assassin's Creed. I think it'll be Buttons Creed. Can't say that word, Chris.
Buttons Creed? Is that what you said?
Assassins, but buttons.
Oh. I thought you were just meaning that assassin was a bad word, not ass.
That's a real knee slapper there, Steven.
Okay, so I gotta say, I was really happy that they finally did do this, because you're right. Yeah, they have been largely criticized for over the years, and this was a much needed move forward, because again, I think this all goes back to the whole Scorpio thing. They're really trying to capitalize on a different market, and they have to do that market fair. Like, they have to be fair with that market and really give them some love. So I'm happy to see that. Glad they did this. And you know what you should do, Chris? Go order yourself all of these games right now.
Most of them aren't available for pre-order yet, Steven. Just like the Xbox One X is not available for pre-order if anyone was trying to get it.
Pretty sure you have a way to do that.
Not really.
Yeah. He's a video game reviewer, well renowned. I think we can get this for you, Chris.
You know, in a past internet life I had for a blog I used to write for, I did get free games for reviewing, so that was pretty sweet.
Crazy.
It's
well,
possible.
Thanks for putting that list together there, Chris. Appreciate that. And that's going to go ahead and wrap up our news. Should we go ahead and move into SP Space Symposium?
Let's do it.
One of these days, SP is going to be like, no, and then I don't know what I'll do.
Cry.
We're running. Been a while since we've been into the world of SP Space Symposium. The last one was 10 episodes ago. We talked about the COBE, right? The Cosmic Background Explorer. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about those gamma rays that I talked about earlier with the Swift Gamma Ray Burst Explorer.
Whoa. You said gamma rays? So, and you said the Swift? Are you saying that Taylor Swift is a superhero because she was hit by gamma rays?
Taylor Swift is somebody's superhero, that's for sure.
That's what you meant, right?
That's entirely what I meant.
My head. My poor head.
So the Swift Gamma Ray Burst Explorer was it's a first. It's a one of a kind. It's a multi-wavelength observatory. We're talking about space telescopes, by the way, people. This is the 13th space telescope in the SP Space Symposium. And if you are looking forward to the next one, there's only 2 more left after this. So we're going to move into space probes after this. But until then, we're going to talk about the last 3 space telescopes. So this is a gamma ray burst detector. And the problem with gamma rays is they happen real quick. And if you're not actually staring at them, you're not going to get a chance to look at them. So Gamma Ray Burst Explorer was put up to actually sense the burst as it's happening, and within 90 seconds or less, be able to turn around and capture these bursts that they're happening. So they wanted to determine the origin of the burst. They wanted to classify them and look for new types possibly. They wanted to determine how the burst evolves and interacts with the surroundings. What's the science behind it? And they want to use gamma ray bursts to study the early universe, as well as performing the first sensitive hard X-ray survey of the sky. Now, this program is headed up by NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, and it's being run actually out of Penn State University. That's where the mission center is actually located. And if I would have known that, I would be moving closer to Penn State, because I think this is pretty cool science. So this was a satellite that was developed in joint partnership between Goddard Space Flight Center and the United Kingdom and Italy. And it is part of NASA's Medium Explorer program, also known as MIDEX. Now, Swift was launched into low Earth orbit on a Delta 7320 rocket on November 20th, 2004. It had a launch mass of 1,497 kilograms or 3,232 pounds, which means it's about 65% of the mass of a 2017 GMC Sierra 4x4. So not even a full truck up there, guys. It was
See what you did there?
Yeah, about 2/3 of it. There you go. Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, though, what you're talking about with GMC Sierra. This is the first time I've ever heard you mention that ever.
Of course it is.
That's right. First time. Been talking about it for more than a year, Steven. More than a year. And actually, pretty soon it's going to be the 2018 GMC Sierra 4x4. So say bye-bye to the 2000. We'll have to have a whole segment on saying bye-bye to the 2017
Wait. So
GMC Sierra.
if you start talking about the 2018 and they offer you a 2017, you wouldn't take it?
I would so take it. I would take it.
But
I'm just
okay,
making it
sure.
so fast.
What happens, though, if the weight massively changes between 2017 and 2018? You're going to be all of your references won't work anymore.
Well, my references, it wouldn't matter because the average guy will know about how much mass these satellites actually are. Again, we're going to be talking about some cars that are driving over the surface of other planets pretty soon, too. So it's going to be
told many
applicable.
times that I'm above average.
By your mom? So the Swift was launched into a low Earth orbit. It's just circular orbit. It's about 350 miles of altitude up there. So it's a little bit above where the International Space Station is and stuff like that. But didn't have enough oomph to get, up into geo belt or into the Lagrange points or whatever. So when it's done, it's probably just gonna, eventually fall into the atmosphere. And who knows whose igloo in Canada it's actually going to fall on.
It's mine. It's mine. That's what he's saying. He's used his NASA ways to direct it to mine.
That's right. I'm just going to make sure that it's deorbited in a controlled manner to hit Stephen's igloo. Now, the Mission Operations Center, by the way, is at Penn State University. It's a great little thing. We'll have a link in the show notes for you to check that out. It's pretty cool. Now, this telescope has 3 main sensors. It has the BAT. Go figure, Batman. We talked about that earlier. It's BAT, Burst Alert Telescope. And this has high sensitivity, but a large field of view, about 2 steradians, which is pretty big. And it can detect about 100 bursts per year. And that is where it's first sensing this stuff. Now, the X-ray telescope is existing hardware from the JetX, and it provides higher accuracy position locations, and it also uses light curves to study the flaring and the long-term decay of the X-ray afterglow. Gamma ray bursts have afterglow, guys. It's kind of like, after some other adult activities, the afterglow.
I thought the afterglow was like when you go to a foam party and there's all sorts of glow and then the foam goes away, but you're like, oh, there's still glowing. That's what I thought you meant.
Steven, you go to a lot of raves, huh?
I've never been to a party in my life.
Or is it the discotheque?
I'm not social. I'm a loner. Thank you.
Discotheques in igloos? I'm confused. They make igloos big enough to dance in?
All right, continue. Let's not talk about my lack of social life. Let's continue.
Okay, so the other instrument is a ultraviolet optical telescope, and it's a copy of what's on the XMM Newton, which we talked about a few episodes ago. So those 3 combine to not only sense the gamma ray burst, but then to actually record the burst in high resolution science. So some of Swift's key discoveries are it located the most distant known spectroscopically confirmed object back in 2005, I believe. And in conjunction with XMM Newton has found the best evidence for an intermediate black hole in the galaxy NGC 5408. We talked about that back with the Newton. And this is very interesting. Back in 2008, it had sensed a supernova, which was seen at such an early stage in its evolution. It was just a stroke of luck that we actually caught this thing really before it exploded. So that was pretty cool there. So a lot of great studies have gone on, a lot of great discoveries. They have sensed over 1,000 gamma ray bursts in the 12 years of operation right now. By the way, it was only supposed to last 2 years. Remember, this was launched in November of 2004. It has operated for 12 years, more than 12 years, 6 months at this point in time, and going strong. So we'll see how long this puppy can actually last and give us some indications of what's going on in gamma ray bursts. By the way, at the beginning of this, I teased that we had 2 telescopes left. So next episode that I talk about space symposium stuff, it will be the penultimate symposium on space-based telescopes. And it's going to be the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. After that, we are going to talk about my favorite. We've been teasing this for a while. My favorite space telescope. After that, that'll be the last one.
So did I hear that right? So today we were talking about the Taylor Swift gamma ray interaction, and next time we're going to talk about Fergie? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Fergie, you know, the UK princess Fergie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought we meant Fergie from Black Eyed Peas.
I totally meant Fergie from Black Eyed Peas, thus the connection with Taylor Swift. So there you go. But we'll go with whatever Fergie is appropriate for your region. We are a multicultural podcast.
And an international podcast as well.
Well, thank you very much for that, SP. I do want to ask you this question. I was like, SP, I really enjoyed your segment, but I want to hear the past SP Space Symposiums. But I just don't want to sort through all that other crap where there was like Chris taps that app, Steven's geeky stuff, all that boring stuff. Would there be a very quick and easy way that I could see all of your SP Space Symposiums?
There is indeed. If you go to www.snasa.space, will be a listing of all the SP Space Symposiums.
So is that a website?
That is indeed a website on the GonnaGeek.com web network.
Ooh, is it a webcast network?
Netcast.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I always enjoy hearing a little bit more about the ways of space, because let's be honest, we're about to destroy this planet. We should find out a little bit more about what's out there.
Or gamma rays will destroy it for us, because remember, it is an extinction level event.
Or turn us all into superheroes.
Yes.
That is so cool. Yeah, that's right. Gamma rays, the Hulk.
No, that's not true, because if we all end up with the superpowers, then it's just normal again. So you need somebody who has more powers to be super. It's no longer super, so it would just be powers, which...
But it'd be a whole race of people with powers. Think of the stuff that could get done. Oh my gosh. We could get rid of world hunger. We can go in and fix stuff after disasters like hurricanes, tsunamis, or earthquakes.
I'm just going to remind you here that X-ray vision will be very, very, very much misused. That's where all of our time is going.
The Hulk doesn't have that power.
He doesn't care. His power of choice obviously is X-ray vision, which is slightly less creepier than invisibility.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Let me go use my bathroom on my invisible jet. But that's going to take us towards the end of the show. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to go around the table, plug and promote, do whatever we'd like to plug and promote. Chris, would you like to do anything?
No, I don't like to do. No. In all seriousness, just a friendly reminder, go check out all the other podcasts there on the network. Head over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com. We've got a variety of different geeky shows that are sure to tickle your tastes.
I'm going to piggyback on that and say, welcome the Strangio Show to the GonnaGeek Network. Check them out, newest edition, and keep your eyes on GonnaGeek.com, because by the time this is released, there might even be another edition on there. What? Tease. SP, do you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, you kind of stole my thunder there, but you know what? You're the network owner. You deserve to make that announcement. I was going to say, I listened to 2 podcasts on the network the other night, and one was Strange and Unusual. Oh gosh, have you guys listened to any of their audio dramas recently? They're so good. If you haven't, you really need to check them out. That is Strange and Unusual. They do a bunch of like stories, like audio stories, and it's just great to hear that sort of stuff. I also listened to the Strange Show, which is pretty good this week. Last week I picked up the Pugcast, which was really great. So there's just a lot of great shows on the network. And oh, by the way, if you're looking for Stargate, if the GonnaGeek.com network does not have enough Stargate Pioneer for you, what you need to do is you need to go to ritualmisery.com, look at their Undaunted podcast on their network, and you will hear all about my story as a podcaster on Undaunted. That's the name of the podcast, Undaunted. I can't believe they scored that name, Undaunted, but they did. So Undaunted, I was interviewed and told my story of podcasting.
So you mentioned the term ritual misery. What's that all about?
Ritual Misery is another podcast on the Diamond. Is diamondclub.tv? Is diamondclub.tv, right?
Diamond Group.
Diamond Group.
Diamond Group, and they are on Thursday nights, and they used to be on right after us, and they still are actually right after us on Starling Tribune on Thursday nights. So I was on there a couple of weeks ago as well.
See, because I don't like when anybody uses the term ritual misery to do with you, because I like to think that since we do this show every Monday, that I am the ritual misery, because I bring misery to you two, and thus the ritual misery.
That's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But that is going to go ahead and take us towards the end of the show. Before we wrap up, I will just say check out GonnaGeek.com as I give my double thumbs up to Stargate Pioneer. For episode 196 of the official GonnaGeek.com show, I'm Stephen John Drew in a hotel room again. What?
I am Tobor.
And I'm SP, ready for another great week of podcasting.
Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen John Drew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Well, thanks everybody who came on by the official GonnaGeek.com show. I hope this worked. I think I worked out a little bit more of the technical glitches from last time, so hopefully it'll just get better, because I am, as I mentioned before, routinely away. Maybe next up I'll find a better way to light myself so that I don't look kind of yellow.
But you Canadians are all yellow.
Trying to think of what that song is.
What, Yellow Rose?
I'm thinking of a Coldplay song. Isn't it called Yellow?
Yes, there is a Coldplay song called Yellow.
I don't know. If it's not Nickelback, I don't know.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who came on by the show. We had a lot of fun, and make sure that you do check out not only this once it's all edited, but the version that Chris is going to put out after that's family friendly. So we're going to do that as well.
Well, it's easy. I didn't cuss any, so we're good.
You need to beep yourself, sir.
I don't want to do that. I like to say things. Did you hear that? You.
No, I didn't hear that at all.
Yeah. We didn't.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and shut everything down. Bye, everybody. We will see you again. And come back, by the way, tomorrow night, because this worked. SP and I are doing a on-the-road version of Better Podcasting. Hopefully it will not crash and burn. We're going to do that tomorrow night. I think we're stealing Game Life Balance's time slot. I'm the network owner. I can do that. And so
if it doesn't work right, it's just slightly okay podcasting is what you can call it.
That's true. It is like slightly above average podcasting. Check that out at Geeks.live.
We got to roll this up. So I got to get to my plane so I can fly to you and cuddle up with you and do the podcast in the hotel bed there.
I got in this room behind me. I showed you. There's a couch. We'll set it up and we'll totally make it look like The Talking Dead.
The casting couch.
Is this gonna be a casting couch? Is SP gonna get the job, Steven? What's he gotta do to get the job?
Hint. There is no job. All right, bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.